What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. I am excited to be joined today by Jamie from one of the most comprehensive comic YouTube channels I think I've ever seen, the Codex Station. How you doing today, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you again.
Oh, man, great to have you. I'm glad we were able to set this up.
Oh yeah, as soon as I sent you the message, you're like, "You want to be on?" Yeah,
That's
100%.
great. That's great. And as always, I am admiring the wall books behind you.
Oh yeah,
You got some good stuff up there.
yeah, quite a few. They're not. I'm gonna be switching it out here soon. I got a lot more good ones to put up. So yeah,
Yeah, I need to get something like that set up in my man cave downstairs. I want to kind of set up like a little backdrop recording area down there for some different kinds of videos, and I know I gotta step it up and do something like that.
I love the spinner rack behind you. That's a good touch.
Yeah, I love my spinner rack. Those things aren't cheap, man.
Oh no, oh
That's not even like an original one. I've seen some of those originals you can get out there. It's like over $1,000 or more.
yeah. One of
Yeah.
our one of the team members, Dan, he's got a spinner rack, and he like right behind him in all of his, and I'm just like, "How much you spend on that?" He's like, "I don't talk about it." I'm
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, this one was fairly, quote unquote cheap in comparison on eBay. It was like a new, and they sell it as like a magazine rack or
"Okay."
whatever, but we all know what it is. It's an
Right.
old school spinner.
Okay. Yeah, no, I see a lot of
So,
good bike behind you too. So I'm like, so my eyes
what's
want.
that?
Besides, I see a
What
lot of good
else?
books behind you. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
wow,
All
looking.
sorts of stuff back there. There's some original art up there. That's a Jeff Shaw page from the Paybacks, that image series he did that was
Yeah,
amazing. I got got another page of that in my portfolio. I have some. You can't see it on the other side. There's a really cool one-off Wolverine Hulk piece that my friend Tony De La Cruz did. Yeah, I'm big into the original art. You can't see all my original art because I have an awesome wife and she actually wanted to decorate the whole house with it. So like our whole hallway, our bedroom is all the walls are covered in original art pages from Invincible because Ryan Otley's like my favorite,
oh, okay,
absolute
dude, that's
favorite
awesome.
artist. So yeah, a lot of that stuff. I'm looking at the double page spread of them flying through the Vutrulonite planet, destroying it.
Oh,
Got the pencils of that right on the other side of the monitor here.
that's that's gotta be amazing.
Yeah. So, what kind of comics are you into, man? I know I have people. We discussed a little earlier our aches and pains and our ages and all of that. You're quite a bit younger than me, but your generation. What books were you coming up with that you were loving when you were younger?
Oh, God, when I was younger, when I was getting into it, I did have a love for like that old '90s feel. So like my
Nice.
dentist books, I would say, because it's hard for me to pinpoint like one book that I remember getting, but my
Yeah, same.
book that I remember that I was like, hey, this is it. This is my entry. Was Green Lantern Emerald Dawn.
Okay. Yeah.
And that just like stole me in and I was hooked from that
That's
point
funny.
forward.
I just found some of those going through. My wife and I are going through the painstaking process of alphabetizing and consolidating my gigantic, 30 some long box collection.
Yes.
And we just came across some of those Green Lanterns in there from my personal collection.
Yeah. Those long boxes, man. Oh, I'm on,
Yeah,
I think I'm on number 51.
telling
So
you.
it's
And then
just
you got to
moving and oh,
I have a multi-shelf thing, so you start getting tired from alphabetizing, and you got to lug them up onto the top shelf.
yeah, you're just like, can this wait till tomorrow?
Yeah. So you were into that Green Lantern stuff starting out then. That was kind of the
Yes.
first one that caught your eye, and where did you go from there? Because I know a lot of people that I have on, they start with kind of a lot of people got into those Marvel cards
Hmm.
and then they got into Marvel stuff. So a little different for you. You kind of that Green Lantern caught your
Yeah.
eye, some DC stuff there.
I, for me, it was always, I was a DC guy, like guy from the beginning. I kind of broke into Marvel a little later on, but
Right.
when like we started talking over your Lobo drawing, and
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's right.
that caught my eye. Like,
We gotta follow up on that. I
yeah,
forgot
yeah,
about
we do, we definitely.
that.
But I went through that, and like I wasn't an indie person, like up until probably 2013. My buddy's dad, who actually got me into comics, um, I saw him randomly one day at the comic shop to go to, and he's like, "Oh, I haven't seen you." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting this." He's like, "I'm getting this." He goes, "Have you read Saga?" And I was like,
Oh yeah.
"No." And I'm like, "I've never really touched an indie book. I've always been big two, and going throughout that." And he's like, "No, read it." And the best way he described it is like it's Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars, and just weird sex all together. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, and we sold.
And like crazy unique and awesome
Oh,
artwork by Fiona Staples. Like
she,
such
I don't
amazing
know.
artwork.
I know they take time off, but I feel like she could draw anything.
Anything.
It everything comes right off the page with her. It's even the
Yeah.
line work is just amazing on those.
Well, you know how when you can tell when an artist is like just on that super high level when
Mhm.
each character has their own mannerisms and way they carry themselves and everything else. Like they're all unique in their mannerisms and everything. Like she really does that so well.
Oh, and the thing is, like, you get a lot of artists that sometimes kind of like, to me, the character might not look the same from issue 1 than it does to issue 12.
Yes.
It's been we're on like 70 or something like that with their run, and every
Yep.
character still looks the same. Like there's not a miss imprint anywhere.
Yeah, she's staying on model with it for sure. Yeah, and that's not easy to do. Like that's one of the hardest things as an artist to do is one, keeping a character looking consistent from issue to issue, but even panel to panel, man. Like when you go and you start turning the character and showing them from different angles,
Oh yeah.
it's so difficult. Like I think that's one of the most common like questions that aspiring artists have is like when they start, you start to gain ground and you start to feel like you're getting it, quote unquote, a little bit, but then the first time you start trying to draw the same character from different angles and different perspectives,
Yeah,
and they don't look like themselves. It's like, oh my god.
why is she 3 feet taller than the original?
Exactly. Yeah, it's always a big challenge.
Yeah, but with that, I kind of got into the indie, and then I realized like, oh, I'm getting a lot of stuff now. Like it just opened a whole new world, and it brought me into like the Oblivion songs, the Radiant Blacks.
Yep.
It just the list went on, and I'm a big Power Rangers guy too. I didn't know Boom had a license for them at any point or ever. So I was like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I'm on it.
Yeah, you had a lot of stuff to catch up on at that
Oh,
point.
so much.
Yeah, and then you got, gosh, like I'm looking at a Daniel Warren Johnson. I have a little thing here that came with his extremity art book from Do a Power Bomb.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like
My Bomb was good.
Yeah, it's like you think there's so many amazing indie books through Image that are coming out. That have come out, and I saw there's like a few more that they're soliciting right now. I think it's one called like Moonshine Bigfoot or something that just came. Yeah, my friend Clara Meath, she's actually helping them run their Kickstarter campaign, and she was telling me a little bit about that one when we were chatting when I had her on here, and I was like, oh, that sounds like such a unique concept. Like the fact that we're so many years into this game and you feel like we're at a point where everything's been done and then somebody will just come up with this awesome, unique concept that's, at least for the most part, never been done before. To me, that's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, even one of the newer books I got from Image, The Lucky Devils, that one's been stellar and it's only on the first issue. So like,
nice.
I'm excited. But yeah,
there's never a shortage of stuff to pick up. That's the problem.
Never. And it hurts your heart sometimes because you're like, should I get this? Is it really going to be good just based on the cover alone? And then you look back and you're like, that book is amazing. Like, why didn't I get it?
I have to ask you this because I ask this to pretty much anybody that's on that collects. Like, are you somebody that focuses on art before story, or do you have to have both equally drawing your attention? Because I know a lot of people say like they can handle it if the story's not great, but the art is amazing, but it kind of doesn't always work the other way around. How do you feel about
I'm
that?
I'm backwards on that. If it's a good
Okay,
story, it'll keep me.
cool.
I've always been story driven in a sense. Like, speaking about Lobo, there's a 2-issue series called Lobo. I think it's Highway to Hell, and the art is not good, but the story was just fun.
Yeah.
It was great, and I've never really had a problem with artists. Like, they can do better than my stick figure job. So,
Right, right.
yeah, them to be published work being something regardless. So I always put that mindset into it anytime I'm reading something. Like,
True.
it to me, they got there for a reason, and they had a style that they saw that they wanted for the book. Especially when it comes to independent too. Like, if you're looking at images, all creator owned. So obviously they had a mindset and style ready for them, and you got to take that in perspective too. So, for me, it's more story driven than anything else.
Well, and what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of times when somebody comes in with a particular style like that, that may not fit the norm or be mainstream. Like a lot of times it's because the editor asked them to draw that way.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, man, the fact that they can change their style and adapt and do something different is just like on a whole other level of mastery.
Oh yeah.
And I know oftentimes that's the case. It's funny. I was watching a live stream that Steve Rude did where he was breaking down like the
Must be gone.
dynamics, and he was doing a little study of the dynamics of Jack Kirby's artwork, and a lot of people hated Jack Kirby's art, especially his stuff from like the 70s on, and just thought like, and he doesn't know anatomy. Everybody looks so blocky and all of this. And Steve's like, let me show you something. He's like, look at this drawing is like this amazing pen and ink, perfect anatomy, rendering, shading, perfect facial structure. He's like, yeah, Jack Kirby drew that when he was 14. He's like, he was a master of the fundamentals. Like, that's the whole reason he could do what he did and change his style and exaggerate things. Like, the foundation has to be there to have the ability to do that. So that's something I think that people don't often take into consideration when they're making judgments on a certain style or what they think looks good compared to mainstream stuff that we see from day to day.
Yeah, I mean, even with mainstream stuff though too, it's sometimes like you'll see like who's a good one? Like a Pepe Larraz, if you know who
Yeah,
that is. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do.
You look at like Blood Hunt compared to his other work, it obviously editorial was in there being like, hey, can you sharpen this or make this,
Yeah.
so much better? And I'm just like, what happened from this to this? Like, how did we get here?
Have you seen the teaser pages from his amazing Spider-Man run?
Yes. Yes.
That's looking
Oh
like
my
it's going to
God.
be on another level.
He's kicking the door in on that one. Like,
Yeah.
he's taking names.
Yeah, maybe the restraints have been taken off and he's getting to do what he wants to do, because I know a lot of times there's like, what do they call it, like the house style, right? Like everybody was trying to, all the editors, all the big companies were wanting everybody to draw a certain way. Like when the image guys were popular, like, okay, you got to draw like this extreme style. And when McFarlane was really popular, everybody was trying to draw like McFarlane.
Yeah,
When
yeah, and everyone was failing horribly.
yeah, and even back in the older times, like John Buscema was
Oh,
under
yeah.
the constraints of being told to draw like Jack Kirby. And it wasn't until he got on the Silver Surfer book he started to let his own style out. And he always told the story about how Stan Lee just ripped him apart when he turned those pages in and told him how horrible it was and it looked bad. And like Stan denies it years later, like, oh no, it was the greatest thing ever.
He's like,
But
Dan is one of those people that's like, if it works, he will be like, I was totally in. And then if it
Yeah.
didn't, I was against it from the beginning.
Yeah. And then it did work. So, but it was one of those instances where, he got the chains removed from him and he got to really break loose and like actually show himself versus being told to emulate somebody else. So I think nowadays, like we see a lot, I'm sure you've noticed this, like a lot of the sameness of the art.
Mhm.
Like a lot of artists look very similar, right? And there's a lot of theories about that. A lot of it having to do with like a lot of them are doing all digital, and
Right.
there's only so many tools. There's lots of different brushes and different settings and things, but a lot of people are using the same process to get stuff done, and that could be one reason. But it also could be like this is how you need to draw to get the work done and be consistent. And we're trying to put out a consistent look for everybody across our books. And I'm sure there's something to that as well.
Yeah, to me, you can kind of see it, especially when they do talk about digital. Even like you brought up, McFarlane does everything digital now. So
Yeah,
like you just seen like just the colors and the lines and how they're fading. You see that big similarity between all these books, but the biggest thing is like, to me, when I see an artist and you can tell just by looking at it who that artist is, that's my kind of person. Like
exactly.
we had let me try to think of the book's name. Maul. It was from Boom Studios, I believe. A.L. Kaplan. The, we've had him on twice. The guy's amazing. But just recognizing his art, I was laughing. I was walking through my comic shop one day, and it was during Christmas time, so the Christmas variants were out. Then a Harley Quinn one, and I looked at him like, that's not Kaplan. And I picked it up, and it cover artist variant A.L. Kaplan, and I'm like, I can pick some
Nice.
stuff out from a mile away, and
Yeah,
those are the kind of artists that I enjoy, where I could just sit there and be like, I know who that is, I know who that is, and I know who that is. Then you get the one
definitely.
like, oh, these all look the same.
Speaking of some styles that style that really stands out to me, have you seen any of that artist Wayshak stuff?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
That's
that's definitely
pretty extremely unique, I would say.
there. In There's so many good ones out there. I feel like some of the best artists have put out stuff that no one's ever heard of. And then once they are published, you're like, where did these guys come from? Like, they did like
Yeah,
30 books before this. I can point them,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah, another one that I wasn't really familiar with until he got on the Absolute Batman book was the Nick Dragotta.
Oh, yeah, Nick Drago.
And he's got a bunch of work, in the past and everything for Image and everything else. But like I
Nickname.
saw that, yeah, I saw that, and I'm like, holy cow, this guy's awesome. Where's this guy been? It was just another one of those situations where you got
Comes out of
this
nowhere.
come out of nowhere, and you probably didn't see them just because they weren't on a big title, but they've been
Mhm.
like consistently doing amazing work for years.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that started in backups or had one page like stories out of like an
Yeah,
8 annual, and you're like, how come this isn't, you know, how come he doesn't have his own book? Like, how come he isn't on a title? And then like a year or two later, you're like, there he is.
yeah. What what era of comics are you collecting these days? Do you still get modern stuff, or do
I
you go
I
all
still
over the place?
I'm kind of all over the place. I still get modern pulls, but being with the team that I have, we have a mix of everybody. So like, uh, I'll give a shout out to Uncle Gary on this one. If you ever get a chance to talk to Brandon, ask him about Gary. It's hilarious.
Nice.
The guy owns over 60,000 comics. Like, he has a whole museum in his basement. Like, he lives out in Virginia. So Uncle,
So Uncle Gary has like a museum of comics in his
you
basement.
not, we have a video. It's a 2 hour long tour of his home of comics. And it's not even like, how can I put it? I've seen it personally, and it's like a 4 hour tour if you walk
Holy
around
cow.
and everything. It's insane. But he has been like my mentor in this, like getting me into like older stuff, like Golden Age, and like weird DC's Weird Mystery Tales, which I've never heard of, but is amazing horror anthology. Going to the Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing to more modern to everything in between. So like my whole team is like that too. Like, oh, another Sal, he gets variants like no other. He'll get the same book with 20 variants on it. And I had to learn like what the difference is between each variant and what they were. Learn how to do back issue deals and everything else from everybody.
So you get introduced to a very eclectic assortment of comics.
Oh God. And then I see one and I'm like, do I need it though? And then I'm like, well, I have these issues, so I might as well pick it up. Like
the whole want versus need thing is so hard when it comes to collecting.
Yes. So there's some you gotta put back, and there's some that you just like, it's coming home with me.
Well, and there's that thrill of the hunt too.
Like every single time, like, am I gonna find it? This is the book I'm looking for, So it never ends, and it's a great feeling, especially if you find it and you get either a deal or you find it for the price range you want.
Now, how strict are you with yourself? Like, I know some of the collectors I have on, they'll have like what's his name, Rohan from back in the game comics or whatever. He has like a list for himself, like 2025, these are the books I'm getting, and he's like very strict with himself and will only get those books. Like me, I'm like, I have an idea and then I see all this other stuff I end up grabbing too. What boat are you in with that? Do you have like your goal of what books you're trying to pick up?
My thing is that I set a goal, but my goal is ADHD prevented to where I want it, and then I'll be like, ooh, shiny. Like, this is the one I want now. Like, so I'm pretty good at getting what I have my mindset on, but there's always that book flirting.
Yeah. It's always there, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you walk past it and you see it, and and then you walk past the end and you're like, you're still there. And then you go past the last time, you're like, you're just come here.
For me, that was Hulk 180 that I saw last year. I saw it was a pretty decent deal on a Hulk 180. Was not in like super bad shape. It was actually like, for the price, I thought it was in very good shape. And I was like, man, to me, that one is, I've talked about it on here before. Like, I consider that the first appearance, even though it's not widely. It's like literally a full panel. He's named, like, but so I knew 181 is my mega grail, but 180 was pretty dang cool to get. And that one was like, okay, am I going to do it? Oh, maybe I'll come back. And I'm like, no, I just have to grab it.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that we make a joke about Hulk 180. We have a running gag on our show where everyone's first appearance was in Hulk 180 because they want to literally sit there and say Wolverine's first appearance is that one. So anytime we talk about a character in our chant, they'll be like, he's from Hulk 180. So it's never ending.
Yeah, it's funny how they kind of determine that, because I guess it's not it's first cameo, but it's not first full appearance. So that's kind of how it's justified in, its key significance or whatever. Yeah, and then they'll go back and and they'll go back now because of like anytime a movie or a TV show gets announced, all of a sudden all these issues now are keys and go in there and first appearance of this obscure character and that obscure character.
Like, it's a $2 book. He goes up to 200. You're just like,
yeah,
they were in for 7 minutes. Like, pump the brakes.
Yeah, but that's kind of the world we live in now with comics, and ever since the popularity of the movies kicking off like it did, and that momentum, like look at Omega Men, first appearance of Lobo shot up like crazy as soon as that announcement. And that was like, bro, he came out of a meeting like I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years ago. I remember where he like came out of a meeting and was like super excited, but he didn't, he couldn't say what it was for.
Right.
No, it was for, he got the news that he was going to be Lobo. Yeah. Like they've been sitting on that for a long time.
Well, Aquaman 2 was basically Lobo until they went to the water. So like
Totally.
he's on a bike riding around doing donuts in his backyard. It's like,
Yeah, he's meant to play that character. So, yeah, I always thought it was funny with Aquaman in casting him because I'm like, he looks like the Jay Lee version of Namor. Remember
yeah.
the Jay Lee Namor books? That's how he looked. He looked like Jason Momoa. He had the long hair, beard, everything.
Yeah, they were trying to make Aquaman a rock star, basically,
Yeah,
and make more butts and seats. Like,
yeah,
and I
hundred
mean, hey,
percent.
he did, to me, he did awesome in the first one. He did great in Justice League.
He was
It,
fun. He was a
it,
fun character.
the second one I can kind of do without.
Yeah.
He was renamed it Lobo in Atlantis.
There you go. Maybe via the power of AI tools, somebody's going to make that happen.
I hope so. Do it.
They could. They could. It's getting a little scary how quickly those tools are developing when it
Oh,
comes to the video stuff. So
yeah. I
I'm
mean, even in
sure.
comics, like people doing covers, and they're like, "Oh, that
Yeah.
I created. What are you doing?" And you're like, "You can tell here, here, and here." And I'm like,
Yeah.
people are gonna really get in trouble for slacking if that's the
And
case.
that's just now. I mean, at this stage where you can actually tell,
Yeah,
where you can actually pick up on it. Like it's look how quickly it's gotten to this point.
yeah,
I mean, during the pandemic was kind of when it got all this AI and VR stuff kicked up just out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. And then look at us now. Like, remember the Will Smith eating spaghetti
oh
video?
yeah,
Like one of the first ones. And now, like, I mean, I've seen these ones where it's like indistinguishable, like drone footage, like of a city and stuff. And it's all from text prompts.
yeah. It's crazy. Even my editing software is like, "Hey, now you got the new feature of text to video," and I'm like, "I am
Yeah.
never using that." And I'm sorry, like,
Mine just told me today, this platform I use along with this, that I can take any of my previous videos and dub and translate the entire thing into 20 different languages.
yes, that was another new feature for mine as well. And
Yeah,
I'm like, that'd be a cool thing to think about, but I'm like, do I really want to pretend for
I
it?
know, right? Yeah, I'm considering it. I've heard like, I know like, who was it? It was probably like Mr. Beast or somebody super successful
Oh
on
yeah,
YouTube.
he's got
He
like
said
working
that
strings.
he put a bunch of them out in Spanish and all of that, and so I'll probably put some out there and just do a little test and see like if it ups the viewership or whatever. But
Yeah,
ultimately, this is just for fun. So, like you said, when you start thinking about that extra work, it's like, do I really want to take on another?
yeah. I've got enough on my work. I'm literally getting messages about shows and stuff right now.
Yep.
But it's how much you want to put into it, and I've been steady at it for 4 years, so I'm like, don't want to add more to that plate.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how you got started and all of that, because I find it very interesting and very inspiring to know like how everybody else got into this space, and how did you get onto the YouTube scene? Did you see other comic content creators out there putting stuff out and figured, yeah, I could get on there and talk about comics too? Or how did
Yeah.
that work for you?
Put it this way, I'll let you choose. Do you want the sad version or do you want the Spark Notes version?
Sad version.
Okay. So COVID had hit. Lost my job. I was about a month away from getting married. She walked out.
Oh no.
Everything was bad. Like, I mean, I was to the point where it was like curtain call. Like, I'm done.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't handle this anymore. Like, I was laying in bed and I was just to the point where it was like, I don't want to do, like, I don't even want to get up, you
yeah,
know? And I don't know. I was on YouTube one day and, I scroll and, I didn't touch a comic like for, I want to say like 2 months. Like, I was still getting my pulls regularly, but that was me just leaving for, to go grab it outside the door. Cause they wouldn't let you in obviously at that time.
yeah,
And I'm laying there and, uh, I'm like, oh, what's this? And it was Comic Storian. And, if anyone's big into the, our realm of things, Benny from Comic Storian was amazing. He recently passed away. And I just fell like right into it. Like I was just consuming as much as possible. And then I fell right into another one, which is hilarious to me. Omar from Near Mint Condition.
Oh yeah.
We had him on, which was like a goal of mine. And he actually came on to our show, which was fantastic. I love the guy. But I fell onto his, and he does omnibuses. I don't even own an omnibus, and I love what he does, like just the way he presents the work. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching these two, and I'm just going, and finally I'm like, let's try switching it up a little bit. I'm not gonna name them, but I found a couple of them, and they'd be talking, and they'd be like, well, who's the actor that plays Captain America? And they're sitting there for like 5 minutes just doing this, and I'm screaming at TV. They're like, what was, like, we were talking Wolverine's first appearance, and they're just like, I'm like, what do you, I can do that. Come on. So I was living in Illinois at the time, and I had moved to Wisconsin, moved in with my uncle, had a room because I didn't have one. And I'm sitting there, and I called my buddy Sonny, who does on a podcast. And this was like preemptive, like I'm just throwing an idea out there. And I was like, hey, I want to start making content. How do you feel about doing a comic book like podcast? And he's like, I need a while, because he's actually filming his own series for YouTube. Series by series, if you guys get a chance to check it out. But he's wrapping his last episode right now. But when we started it, he was like, give me a little bit. I got filming and shooting and all this other stuff to do. And I was like, all right, cool. And then, I started making, little things like email, Instagram, Facebook. And then finally I started up the YouTube, and dude, like as soon as he said go, we had no idea what we were doing. Like I fried a computer because I didn't know the capabilities of what I could do and what I didn't have. And we were just going, and then it kind of led into, well, the podcast is fun, but I feel like we're one-dimensional. So what's going to separate what I'm doing from everybody else? And my thought process was, hey, we'll start another, side thing on the channel. And that led into Decoding Panels, where we tell the story of a series or one issue, do dramatic storytelling throughout it. And then it led into, I believe we did Comics Unleashed, which we called After Dark, because it's always late at night. Everyone kind of gets together after the kids go to bed. We talk.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little more loose. And we'd show off everything we bought that week. And then that led into, hey, what do you think about doing, like, taking a character and just like kind of like deep diving on them? And there's a page we follow on Facebook called Comic Character of the Day. And we decided to make one called Comic Character Week. And we brought in a bunch of people from that page, and we sit down every week and we talk about a character, and we talk about like the best reads and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Covers. And then it just started going into, hey, Jamie, I'm going to this comic shop. Should I shoot some, video? And I'm like, yeah, get some footage. And then that turned into on spots. And then actually, by the time I'm pretty sure this is going to be coming out, we're going to have a new show starting that's going to be coming out every Tuesday.
Oh, cool.
So it's been a whirlwind, man. Like from where I was to where I am now, like and my team really, brought me back. Like
that's so cool.
So
in this team, did you guys just all meet through your mutual love of things? All things comic related, right? Just brought you guys together.
We're all in different states.
Yeah.
Like I think the closest ones are in Virginia and Baltimore. Another one we have is in Chicago. I'm in Wisconsin. We had one in Seattle that we had. We used to have a buddy in Tennessee who was on the show. And then like everyone's from everywhere. Like we literally met through that Comic Character of the Day page, and like we were just like, you love comics? I love comics. Let's start my friends. Like
exactly. Yeah. If only everything could be that simple.
Oh my God. Like, oh, trust me. Tell me about it.
That's what I always like about going to cons. My wife and I have a couple that we go to every year,
Mhm.
and just like you just be standing there and just spark up a conversation with the person next to you in line, or the guy digging in the long box next to you starts talking to you, and it's like instant, like, did we just become best friends kind of
Yeah, you want
thing,
to
you
grab
know?
my rush? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. It's just that camaraderie and that sense of community and everything, you know, just because we all have this mutual love of this thing is pretty special.
yeah. And like you're saying, so my con I always went to was C2E2 in Chicago, which is a great one. It's fantastic. I love it. We actually traveled to Baltimore to go to Baltimore Comic Con last September. Um, so it's been a little bit, but just seeing the differences in the way people are, and like
Yeah.
we notice like the lines different for certain creators, and like it, it's awesome to see so many people and see what the perspective is from one state to another, and then go back and be like, well, that's different than that, but I like this more. And you're just like, oh, and you're like, oh, I've literally seen two vendors that were at Baltimore that I've always gone to at C2, and they recognized me. And it was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, what are you
That's
doing
cool.
here?
Yeah, I have a guy is that way. His name is Russ. He runs Fine Collectibles, and he has the booths with like the carrying cases and sleeves for original artwork and all that, where he sells like the protective stuff. And yeah, same thing. I'll be just at a random show. He's like at every one, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll probably be at C2E2. It's like every weekend he's traveling somewhere. And he's
Yes.
like, "Hey buddy, how you doing?" Like, been talking to that guy now for like 8 years or more.
Yeah. It is weird. Like one day you're just talking to someone that's next to the unboxing, and you're like, we're friends now.
Yep. I wanted to do a screen share and kind of show everybody your channel so we can make sure to get them over there to check it out.
Yeah.
Shall we do that?
We shall.
All right, let me pull it up here. Boom, screen share. Got that. Share. Let me know when you can see it.
Yep.
Here we go. Code X station. Yeah, this is what I thought was really cool, how you had it broken down in these different sections. Because I want to do something like this to where I don't just have the podcast. I want to do like creator spotlights and those
Yeah.
types of videos too. So I was thinking, well, we got the podcast, but how could I break the channel down? And you just do it with your playlist, right?
Yep.
Just make your different sections. And yeah, I thought this was really cool though. I liked how it was in channels. You going with the station theme and everything.
Yeah. That was the mindset, especially like think about it when I was younger. It was kind of like the TV guide that channel. And you're
Yes.
like, oh, what's on here today? What's on this one? What's on this one?
And you do not have a shortage of videos, man. And then
Oh,
I saw this right here, and I got a little intimidated because this is like episode 136. I'm like,
yeah.
oh man.
So I have to update the channel a little bit because we do. So we have 3 lives every week. One's the podcast, one's Comic Character Week, and one's Comics Unleashed. And my mind forgets to transfer that live into the playlist.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
So you're
um,
further along than that then.
yeah. So as of like right now, tomorrow we're recording podcast number 141.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's really cool.
we've been doing this for a very, very good time.
Well,
And
before I close the share, I want everybody go here. It's at the Code X station over on YouTube, and give them a subscribe, man. This is such an awesome channel. Encourage everybody to check it out.
I appreciate it, man. I
I want to give you a chance before we finish up. I know you put some books aside to show off here on the stream, so on the pod. Why don't you show us that, and we'll check them out, see what you can show me that will make me jealous, and go on eBay right after this.
Right. Well, it's nothing that's gonna make you jealous. I had everything by me. I had gotten at Baltimore
Okay.
Comic-Con. But one person, Ron Garn,
Oh,
that
yes.
man is a blessing. I was able to get
Oh,
the
yeah.
lighting, his signature.
Badass.
And the funniest thing was I bought this from a comic shop out there because I didn't get this in my pulls. And I'm so glad I did because I didn't even know he was going to be at the con.
Yeah. Ron's an amazing
Like,
guy.
he is a treasure we need to protect.
Yeah, and a
At all.
true modern master. Like, people just don't realize how prominent and how amazing that guy is in every different medium of art that you can imagine.
Yeah. Another cool one, Firestorm #3, the first appearance of Killer Frost.
Oh, sweet.
And it's signed by Milgram.
That is a nice one.
Yeah. I had a real hard time trying to decide if I wanted to get the first issue or this one, and I was like, it's the first appearance of Killer Frost. I need it.
Yeah, it's a cool cover too.
Yeah. Another cool one I got Starlin to do for me. And that's A Death in the Family.
Oh, nice.
So that was a cool pickup. And then, there's 2. So Starlin did 2 for me, and then Infinity Gauntlet, obviously, needed it.
Oh yeah, you got to have that.
Yeah, when I was picking books out for him, I was like, it's got to be these 2. We got like 3 left this year.
Yeah, show them off, man.
One of the cool ones, I don't know if you've read any of his work, but Phil K. Johnson.
The name is familiar.
He's on Incredible Hulk right now.
Oh yeah. With Nick, he's on there with Nick Klein, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been reading that because I love Nick's art, and Danny Earls has been on there. Artist out of the UK. He's been doing the fill-in issues on that, and I love his stuff too.
Yes, he was so cool to talk to, and like everyone from the team had the same book, so it was hilarious because we're all walking up with Ghost Rider 44.
Yeah,
and he's like, "How many of these am I signing for you guys?" Like, we're like, everyone has
all
one.
of
I think
them.
my fiance had the Man Thing issue. That was the only difference.
That's awesome, man.
One more gem I have. So I talked about Uncle Gary earlier, and at Baltimore, he is king. When I say that, he knows every vendor, he shakes every hand, kisses every baby, basically. I told him I wanted this book, and I couldn't find it for the longest time, or one in good shape. And it was Batman 638, and it's a variant cover because I only made variants slim back. But the original cover is Batman taking off Red Hood's mask, and you see Jason Todd's face in the reflection.
Yes.
Well, this one is.
Oh yeah, the variant.
Yeah.
Nice.
With Jason Todd, and I couldn't find it. I told him that's the one. I was like, that's a grail for me because I'm a big Jason Todd fan. And I was at the con for like maybe 30 minutes, maybe. And he goes, "Hey, found your book." And I was like, "What book?" And he's like, he took a picture of it. He goes, "And I cut you a deal. Get over here." And I'm like, "Where are you? This is the first time I'm here."
Man, Uncle Gary sounds like a good guy to know.
He is. And the last one, so anyone that's on here that's seen our show, I talk about it all the time because I'm so proud of it. I got engaged in Baltimore, and we did a whole surprise. It came together. The way we did it came together within a week. Originally, I was just going to do it on our stream at one of the comic shops up there and kind of surprise her. But we took it a step further because her favorite writer is Tom.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, enthralled with him, like completely. And we actually went to his line 3 times at Baltimore because she was buying stuff from vendors. She's going, "I'm going to get back and get this signed by them." Well, Uncle Gary, being the guy he is, has an affiliation with Tom King. And he's like, "Let me go talk to him. Let me see what I can do. If you want him to write out the proposal." And I was like, "That'd be," or do like a video. I'm like, "That'd be amazing." Show it right before, I ask. And the man did not disappoint. So this is my Batman 50.
Beautiful.
And both signed by Tom King and Mitch, who was right next to him the whole time. Funny story. Tom's like, "I can't write that well. Like, my penmanship's horrible." I guess Mitch ripped the book out of his hand and goes, "I'm writing this."
Yeah.
And I did a whole video too asking for me to propose
Yeah.
and show her in the shop. So yeah, those are my books as of right now.
And she said yes.
Yes, she did. I always double check the book just to make sure, because I'm
Yeah.
like, anytime we're aggravated with each other, I'm like, remember,
You
that.
said, and
You
Tom
marked
King
it.
witnessed it.
Yeah, yeah, it's contract.
That's so special, man. Well, thank you so much for showing those off on here.
Yeah, no problem, man.
So we're talking about the team and all you guys getting together and, through this mutual love of comics and everything else, like with that, how hard is it to coordinate setting up your shows and things? Do you guys schedule, like when you got multiple people, it can get harder to like set a time and all that, especially being in different states. Do you guys try to schedule out as much in advance as you can and all that kind of stuff?
I am on Central Time, but my brain is on Eastern Time. That's the way I like to explain it to people, because when I tell someone on the team a time, I'm telling it for them. But then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so we're doing a show at 9. It's 8.
So I really messed you up being here on the West Coast.
You messaged me last night, and it hit me at 12:07 or something like that in the morning. And I looked, and I'm like, "You're like, are you ready for the show tomorrow?" And I'm like, "It's today." I was like, "I'm gonna sleep on this one for a minute." And I woke up, I'm like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
That's awesome. Yeah,
So
I figured, yeah, everybody, it's like, I know it can be challenging. Like I've had people on here from like over in the UK and everything else. And I've got a gal over in Australia, this amazing mural artist, Danielle Weber. She's done like Kobe Bryant murals, Michael Jordan murals. She was on the red carpet with The Rock. She got to do like a big painting for him for the Black Adam premiere and all of that. And yeah, coordinating with her to get her on here. I'm like, okay, so like, you're in Australia, so you're like a day ahead. You're like day in the future, so no spoilers, please.
Yeah, no, please don't say anything back. Like we had David Hazan, was one of our first people we ever got to interview. Outside of like Big Two people, and he was working at Nottingham, and we were sitting there. He's like, "Yeah, I'm Australia, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I didn't realize it in my mind. I'm like, it's 9:00 dark here, and the sun's just coming up for him. And I'm like, wait, what time is it? Kind of moment where I was just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That's awesome. Well, listen, man, I don't want to keep you on here too long, even though I know we could talk forever. I want to give you a chance to promote anything you have coming up that you want to make sure that people are aware of, and also let everybody know where they can find you on your social media and everything else. I know we already showed them how to find you on YouTube, but where are the other best places for people to follow you, and what do you got going on coming up here that you're able to talk about?
So best place, you can find this anywhere at the Kodak Station. That best place. We even have a website, thekodakstation.com. You can see all the team members. You can basically go through our playlists, ask us questions, whatever you want to do on there. So yeah, and all of our socials are linked in there too as well. So you can find us there. As for stuff that's coming up that I can promote, I'm very excited. I have, we were just talking about a little bit ago, we got a new show that's going to be premiering probably in 2 weeks, I want to say.
Awesome.
And it's called Comics 101 with Uncle Gary, our other team member, Mike Harbor. If I could talk, that'd be great. Myself and my fiance, basically breaking down, those kind of questions you have when you're getting into collecting. So how to start collecting, what's the different ages, what's the difference between variants, stuff like that. And
Breeding.
yeah, everything, like just trying to break it down to morsels for you to consume, so that way when you go into a comic shop for the first time, or if you're questioning if you want to get into this, we have the tools for you.
Very cool. We'll be looking forward to that. Thank you so much for coming on today. It was
Oh,
great having you, and I would hope that we would be able to do this again in the future, man.
oh, 100%. Anytime you want, just let me know. And
Awesome. And
hopefully
if
we
I
get you
ever,
on the show.
I would love to. And if I ever need any advice on the YouTubes, I know who to come to. You
My
got,
phone is always
you put
on.
some, you put some time into it. You know all the ins and outs, I'm sure.
I try at least.
Awesome, Jamie. Well, listen, hang out with me for a second. I'm going to give everybody my spiel here. Guys, make sure you check us out on youtube.com/@nerdymusings. You can watch the video version of the podcast. Always cool wall books in the background. When we have artists on here, they're always showing us sneak peeks of artwork they're working on, at least the stuff that they can show. Make sure to give us a listen on any of your favorite major audio podcast platforms. And you could very well be the first one to do a review on Apple Podcasts. So far, it does not look like we have any reviews on there. So if you enjoy the podcast and you'd like to leave a nice review, please do so. And in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.